Hi, welcome to the Greatest Pod Classic, where you are going to get to hear people's nerd greatest of all time from the classic pod. If you like what we're doing, mash that subscribe button and click like too. Hey, leave a comment too. Tell us your opinion about this idea. You can also join our Patreon, patreon.com/thegreatestpod, to get extra podcasts that are more personal and get art sent directly to your house. Again, that's patreon.com/thegreatestpod.
Nerd Goat.
The podcast that asks interesting people out of all the characters in all of fiction, who's the nerd goat? Who's your nerd goat?
The greatest of all time. I'm Ed Greer.
I'm Ron Swallow. Today's guest is Justin Williams.
Hey, everybody.
Justin was just in the Weredick, which won an award at a film festival, a horror film festival, I believe.
Yeah.
Comedy horror in this situation.
I probably should have researched what that award actually was.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the best movie with a weredick in it.
Yeah, the best movie, the best puppet creature since Werewolf in London. It was.
Well, yeah. Explain the project. Explain this piece de resistance.
There is a great podcast, and also they do a lot of sketches called "This Is Rad." You can go on YouTube, check them out. We did a lot of sketches, but this one in particular was a sort of a parody of an American Werewolf in London, where I play a dick model who gets bit in the dick by a werewolf. So instead of me turning into a werewolf, just my dick is a werewolf. Hence Weredick. And it was the most intense and involved shoot. Like I was the lead in it. I think this was one of the few ones where like I didn't even take a pass of the script at all. But I was like in charge of like stunts and some special effects, but no, it was really way more involved.
Wait, you were the stunt coordinator for Weredick?
Yeah, because I had to like.
Did you have to call in a stunt dick for your stunt Weredick?
Well, the actual Weredick was, and it's weirdly an adorable puppet. But it was a pool noodle. Natalie Hazen, who was the writer and producer on it, and she created the puppet. It was a long pool noodle with like felt and fur and teeth on it. And when we did the transformation scene where you're seeing it burst out of my pants, poor Natalie, like I had a pair of old jeans that we just ripped the ass out of. She just had to lay down and just sort of like
feed it,
shove a noodle.
She had to shove it in and out. I'm just like, I mean, I don't mean inappropriate, but this is pretty dope. Like, I'm getting a taint massage.
Well,
awesome.
It's great to have you on the show.
It's great to be here. Thank you very much.
I've definitely I co-signed Ron wanting to have you on after like all the late night Liquid Zoo conversations we would have in a parking lot when all the other comics would be on stage trying to get better. We'd be outside.
Just bullshit. And you're
talking
like
about comic books.
You're one of the first people like I wish I had Ed's number because I just saw the Black Panther trailer. I need to call him because I knew we would have opinions on it. And we've spent hours just arguing about nerd shit. And we actually met. We didn't meet at doing comedy. We met going to an audience test screening of The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
That's right.
Yeah, that's where you met Ron?
That's where we met Ron. And we instantly hit it off just talking about nerd shit.
Yeah, it was fun.
Like I think one of the first things you said was, I hope Craven's in it. And I was like, we're just going to hug now.
Yeah, for those not in the know, Craven the Hunter is a Russian asshole who stalks Spider-Man all the time.
Yeah.
And for some reason, even though Spider-Man can lift 10 tons and throw a Volkswagen across the fucking ocean and stuff, he has a problem with this Russian guy who wears a lion's face as a vest.
I think at some point, I think at first he doesn't have like any problem, and then I'm pretty sure Craven gets some kind of like super soldier serum of some type. If
there
I
always
remember
has
correctly,
to be some
to
little
make him closer.
Yeah.
Well, that's another reason why Frank Castle is the best. Shout out to our producer, Frank. Frank Castle plays with these gods, but he doesn't have any super soldier stuff, nor does he have special weapons.
Yeah.
I think that's cool.
Not anymore.
Well, I know. But he used to bring an M16 to a adamantium claw fight and come out, not fucked up. And I love those comics.
Or just a little fucked
Like,
up.
I think
quite fucked up, but
far and
alive.
away, one of my absolute favorite Marvel stories is Punisher kills the Marvel Universe. Because it shows you, like, he can wipe all of them out just with his skills. Like, it's ridiculous. No super special weapons. Like, he just tricks them all or fights harder. There were some of those brutal moments in comic book history. The one where, like, He beats Dr. Doom by knocking him down and then taking a hammer and smashing into his helmet until it just goes squish.
Yeah, that's
just hear clang, clang.
Our
clang,
producer
squish.
is nodding vigorously.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so dope. It is so dope.
So today, though, we're going to be talking about Kyle Rayner, Green Lantern.
Yeah.
He is from, what is it, New Earth or something?
No. He's Earth Prime.
Prime, that's
He was the... so just like a tiny bit of backstory for people who aren't really super familiar with Green Lantern.
And also detail a tiny bit of why you would pick that one rather than the regular one.
Well, I mean, the regular
one of the regular ones.
Well, because when I was growing up, so the most famous ones are Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan. Jon Stewart, I think, mostly famous because, and he's an amazing character, but because he was in the Justice League cartoon that was so good. At the time in the 90s, Hal Jordan, who is considered the greatest Green Lantern, he's essentially Captain Kirk. Like, he's just brash, cocky, fearless, but a great character. He went insane, killed all of the other Green Lanterns. There's like 36,000 of them or something. Killed all of them, was blowing up cities, went nuts, and destroyed what was this elite intergalactic police force. And then there's just some douchebag standing outside of a club in L.A. in the 90s wearing a Nine Inch Nails t-shirt, and a little blue midget shows up and literally says, "You'll have to do," and gives him a Green Lantern ring, and then disappears. A Green Lantern ring is the most powerful weapon in the universe, and it's handed off to someone not with a speech, not with like a hero's journey, just, fuck it, you're here.
Yeah, so he's at a Pearl Jam show.
It was him. It was him and a homeless guy in the alleyway. And I guess Ganthet was just like, I guess I'll go with the guy who's standing and shaved. I'll pick that one. Sure.
Wow.
And I had because like the idea of like the Green Lantern Corps is you're fearless, yada yada. Like you have almost everybody who has ever been a Green Lantern has some law enforcement or military service. Like Hal Jordan's in the Air Force, Jon Stewart's a Marine sniper. That's all in there. And Kyle Rayner was just a comic book artist from Los Angeles who just happens to get the ring. He wasn't some dark, tragic hero. He didn't have like a weird upbringing. I mean, they add stuff eventually, but he was just a dude who was just given this amazing gift. And all of his sort of trials and tribulations for the most time that I read it was just normal people stuff. Like he goes on like kind of a road trip to learn what it means to be a hero, but it's instigated because he was fighting with his girlfriend.
Well, I see. I think that's the 90s in a nutshell.
Yeah.
You know, it was the graduation of some of those old, like, Spider-Man has Aunt May's wheat cakes are getting cold, but he also has a date with Gwen Stacy, but he also has a big test. And then Dr. Doom comes around. Or Dr. Octopus comes around. This is fucked up. That's a graduation, I guess, of like, you know, like 90s. Like a dude from Singles.
Although with DC, I'd say one of the things that's because Spider-Man's a street hero, even though every once in a while he may participate in some hardcore shit.
Right.
Green Lantern is literally saving universes,
space cops,
galaxies, like planets on a daily basis. That's the craziest part because he's just this dude. I mean, can you imagine if any of us just randomly got Green Lantern's ring? We all like to think
about it all the time.
Cool.
I have so many Green Lantern rings in my apartment.
I just make my dick jokes better. Just a little more visual.
Of course, I just remember like always having fantasies like, you know, as like a 13-year-old boy, like, well, what do you think the first thing I'm going to do with a Green Lantern ring is? I'm going to fuck all the people in that comic book because I can make them real now.
Well, like, how would a green construct feel though? Would you have to like lube it up? You know, because it's still just sheets of light.
I think the catch-22 of it is that you have to have supreme focus and concentration to make anything.
And I don't know if you've ever when you're about to come.
It would just be like, fucking her, and then like some weird thought pops up in your head, and all of a sudden you're fucking your dad, and it's just uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, because it is linked to your mind and your emotions and stuff. I mean, the Green Lantern ring, honestly, if I may be blunt, I've always thought that it was the most DC of concepts. As in, you have this thing, it's got unlimited power as long as your will is this, that, the other. It has a couple of goofy rules, like how Superman can't fuck with magic, and how Batman can't, like, you know, bring his parents back. That's like his only weakness that's left. You know, but all the DC characters are basically fucking invincible, except for one minor thing that they might run into on occasion. So the color yellow was one of those things. Ron was schooling me on. Kyle and the color yellow.
Yeah, he was actually, it was a new type of ring that actually could fight through yellow. And,
Yellow used to be the thing that stopped this unstoppable ring that worked off your willpower.
They do eventually like kind of retcon and give the whole idea that now there's not just a green lantern, there's like yellow lanterns, purple lanterns, indigo lanterns, and because it's all part of an emotional spectrum and the opposite of will is fear, that doesn't make any sense, but sure. And yellow was fear. Like that was the color of the emotional spectrum was yellow.
That's why Sinestro turns into a yellow.
Yeah, and that's like, the idea is that that's what the weakness comes from. And then the rings all do weird different things about them, like Hal Jordan's ring originally, it could stop you from ever getting any mortal injury. It can also do time travel if you really wanted it to, but it also had to be charged every 24 hours.
The most DC shit I've ever heard of in my life.
I grew up as like more of a DC kid than a Marvel kid because I was obsessed with like mythology and Greek gods and stuff, and that's what DC. It purely is about gods. Whereas again, like your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Right.
He's a dude who's going to save you for some stuff, and there may be some superheroes, but sometimes he's just helping you out.
Yeah, just like stopping. Like he's one of the few characters I can think of that still fights muggers.
Yeah.
Batman doesn't even do that shit anymore.
Not much. Well, I'll leave that to the cops.
Well, what do you connect to about this character so much? This, especially the specific version of it. But I mean, you've explained a little bit, but like, why you? Why would you like this guy the most?
Because it was interesting to see. I do not understand how it happened, but I always had this weird. I knew about Green Lantern. I'd never read anything. I was not really a big comic book kid. I was in waiting for a train when I was a kid in New York, and I just saw it and thought I'd pick it up, and I just. Something about it connected with me where it was just like, oh, here's this world of gods, monsters, aliens. And most of the issue is this fucker just trying to pay his rent.
Yeah.
and like, it was like interesting and fun to me. And it was also kind of cool to see. Well, most superheroes seem to be on East Coast cities. This was the first time I'd seen one where like he was in LA. And the first like big major thing you see him do with the Green Lantern ring is stop a building from falling over during an earthquake. Not like fighting, Thanos or some other horseshit.
How does he do that? Just out of curiosity.
He made like sort of these weird chain and anchor things that sort of held the building together for a little while until the earthquake was over.
Yeah.
And it's the Green Lantern ring is something that has a lot of lore and legend behind it, and then he just gets it and doesn't know about any of that stuff for I think a good couple of months, like maybe a year before they start delving into that because he's the last one.
Yeah,
and it was interesting because
it's like all the rest of them got fucked up in that big.
Yeah, in that whole big event, and the idea that this person is given so much power and responsibility, and he has no idea what he's doing, and he's just it's just like I'm just a normal person kind of thrown into this world, and to get to see also because like he has this big shadow over him because not only is he second banana to what is considered the greatest Green Lantern, he's second banana to a guy who just murdered millions of people.
Yeah,
so no one trusts him.
But I think that it's interesting that like. He didn't have a lot of limits in his imagination and his willpower just because he didn't know all the rules on top of that.
Yeah, and also he's the first character that was an artist.
Yeah.
Again, not a military man. He's just an artist.
I was just going to touch on that because Ron's heard this rant before, but part of the reason why I always hated Green Lantern was you have this ring that can make anything you imagine, but all Hal Jordan ever imagined was boxing gloves,
like an orb,
it's just a canoe. I made a canoe, everybody. He seems like such an idiot, and I would make chainsaw bees that shit laser snakes into your fucking eyes. I instantly, I could just freak out.
Kyle would do that
top.
right from the beginning.
Yeah,
like he's like, I'm trying
creative.
really hard to focus on how to make simple objects, and then once he sort of just got into the swing of things, he's making Gundam suits and like
I really love that version of Green Lantern because for some of the feats, that's one thing I wanted to talk about a little bit since we're talking about Nerd Goat. Sometimes we don't delve as much as I think we should into some of the feats that they've done because we're trying to prove that these guys are the greatest of all time. So I saw in Earth. There was an Earth 2 dudes came over here, like the evil backwards people, like Ultraman.
The Injustice League.
Injustice League.
Oh, that one with Frank Quietly and Grant Morrison?
Yeah.
That's a dope.
That's a great book.
A good
and
one.
At one point, he literally makes giant hands to cover the whole Earth to prevent it from some sort of attack. And I was like, that's pretty sick.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
He has a lot of creativity and imagination, and also... Again, like he's not a military serviceman or anything like that, but when he's thrown into a situation like his, the whole hero's journey story that he did, where like he fights with his girlfriend, leaves, he goes and hangs out with Batman, Superman, everybody else. that all ends up in like one big war, and a city is falling. And his whole thing is like, I'm new to this, I don't really know what I'm doing, but he imagines giant rockets on the bottom of it to help it slowly land down. And you see like a lot of effort into that. Like one thing that I don't think people ever talk about with the Green Lantern stuff is when they did Green Lantern Rebirth and they brought back Hal Jordan, they had revealed Judd Winnick, who both wrote for Green Lantern and Green Arrow after Kevin Smith left. Green Arrow now has a Green Lantern ring that was given to him by Hal Jordan back in the day, and it says in case of emergency break glass. So he pulls it off, and Parallax is back. He's like the evil version of Hal. So Ollie's trying really hard to just focus, and all he can do is make one arrow come out, and it just hits Parallax and does nothing. But he's sweating, he's screaming, blood's coming out, and he says, like, it feels like my whole nervous system is on fire. Is that what it's like every time? And Kyle goes, yeah, every time. And that's when you realize, like, holy shit, like, yeah, this is a really big feat.
So almost every feat he does at all is insane.
Pretty much anything does, but also
focus and willpower.
Yeah, and Kyle Rayner has he's referred to as the torchbearer by the Guardians, because what he did, like I said, there were no Guardians, there was no infrastructure for the Green Lanterns. When he got his ring, he eventually became so powerful and he was a god at one point. Like, he could be all over time and space, and he gave that power up to bring back the whole Green Lantern Corps. Not all the members, but bring back the Guardians and the planet.
Well, that's a good way to skirt omnipotence.
Well, there was a long period where he was just like, no, I'm just doing the right thing, and he had a conversation with Superman where Superman's like, if we don't let them help themselves, like, that's eventually we become dictators, and like, if you should not have this power. This is too much power for any one person to have. So he gives it up. So this is
Superman's telling him that.
Superman's just like, so do you
Superman's like, look, there can only be one invincible dude, okay?
Well, it's not that he's invincible, it's that Kyle Rayner, as they called him, Ion, he could be all over time and space. Like, that was the opening of an issue, and where Superman has this conversation with him.
Is this where he gets all the rings, or was that a different one?
No, that's when Hal Jordan goes insane. This is just all of the power is soaked into him, and that's a very long story how that happens. But like, there's a fleet of an armada coming in to attack the whole world, and the Justice League freaks out. And it's like, get all the teams, get them together. And Kyle just goes, I took care of it. And they all look over and goes, what do you mean? They look out, and all the ships are gone. And Kyle says, yeah, I just went out there and made them all disappear. So what's next? And that's when Superman's like, this is getting kind of scary.
Yeah.
So again, here's just this kid who grew up in North Hollywood, just hanging out, does really nothing with his life, and he goes from that to bringing back one of the oldest forces in the universe. Like,
let's talk about the Green Lantern Corps for a second, because again, I used to hate them too, but if I can make my mind wrap around the concept of space cops and the concept of all that grand tradition, if it was just, if it was like super space cosmic robots or something, or like some weird life form we can't even see that gave them the powers, it'd be one thing. But like little blue dudes with big heads give the Green Lantern Corps all this power instead of using it themselves, because for some convoluted narrative reason.
You racist?
Well, I'm just saying, it's like the
Smurfs. Call them bloogers or something?
Space Smurfs gave the cops their space cop powers. It's just
they got big brains, man. They got big heads.
It's all weird.
The Guardians are
weird looking.
The Guardians of the universe are the oldest beings that have been around forever. They have immense power, but like, they learned at one point that like, we can't really interfere. So they created the Manhunters, which was their first pass. It didn't work. And
the Manhunters are super Terminator robots who fly through space and fuck shit up.
Yeah, but, they're scary.
Yeah.
But they were just like, they do what any AI does. It's like, well, the only way to stop all the crime is to kill all the people.
Yeah.
And so like, okay, let's try this again.
Strike one.
And they found a way to tap into the emotional energy of the universe. There's a billion different versions. There's like the emotional energy. There's a thing called the Star Heart. It's something from another dimension. But the end result is they can tap into this power and decide the best thing to do was to get partners from each sector of space, and you guys patrol it because you're there and you are people and you care and you can make these decisions. We don't get our hands dirty. They're the top generals. They're the ones who decide, and then they send out the soldiers.
It's like this space coppery is like fucking it's almost like a drug operation in a weird way. It's like there's like, hey, I got all these powers. I don't know. I can't sell these powers hand to hand. You take some of these powers.
You go over there. You take care
You
of it.
guys gang up, and you guys have syndicates, and you guys sell the powers. You know what I mean? It's like, but at the same time, they're police officers, basically, of space, and they have sectors that they patrol, and different strengths and weaknesses, how they use the weapons and stuff, like the different alien races that use.
And that was like, I mean, we can get a little bit into the Green Lantern movie, but the number one thing that really disappointed me was in all the trailers, I'm like, oh my God, most of the cast is not human.
Yeah.
That is so cool. Because also one thing you see in the same, because it is the entire universe, there's so much diversity out there and so many weird things. And to see, like, there's a Green Lantern who's a whole planet. There's a Green Lantern who's a fucking squirrel. There's, like, you know, Green Lanterns who are fish people. And it's all of their different...
Guy Gardner who's just a dick.
Who's just a dick. That's his one big power. Although they made him an alien hybrid later, but that's all some other nonsense. It was the 90s. They did whatever they wanted. Yeah. So you have, like, all these diverse cultures and histories, and so when there's a big battle, and, like, I mean, Ethan Von Schreiber did the greatest splash pages for the Sinestro, where you see all of these different cultures using what's in their mythos and their imagination and creating them.
So that's a really artistic challenge, too. To draw a Green Lantern is to really have to draw your ass off, unless it's like the 60s or something. Because, and even the 60s, I mean, the Neil Adams, I mean, come on, he had to draw a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, all of the different things you can make with your mind, to have the artist have to draw what different alien cultures have in their minds. That's a task.
Yeah, it's a huge, and even like when you're going with just a human, because again, like Kyle being an artist is his own thing, but also what I think also very much endeared me to Kyle was that there's this great one shot called Fear Itself. It goes through every Green Lantern, and they meet a thing that makes them experience their greatest fear, and they kind of and Kyle realizes, like, because everyone else's their whole thing is they don't feel fear. Kyle is a normal person; he feels fear, but he understands that you can be afraid, but you have to get over it. And that's what makes him actually stronger than the rest of them.
I mean, that's what actual courage is.
Yeah, so when they do the Fear Itself, it shows, like, World War II with Alan Scott. It shows the Nazis winning with Guy Gardner and Hal Jordan. It's, the Russians blowing up everything. And they mentioned that Kyle, like, grew up in an era, this was the early 2000s, pre-9/11, that there wasn't a big global conflict that he had to worry about. And so his fears were all internal. And that's what kind of made him understand what was going on. And with that, instead of we got to blow up the alien, he gave it all the power it could handle, and then it becomes a small star. And he goes, yeah, I kind of realized that's what it was trying to do this whole time. It's not trying to hurt anyone. It's trying to get home. So, like, to see, and this was, like, pre-me knowing anything about Doctor Who, it was really great to see someone try and solve a problem without just punching it in the face.
Yeah.
That's what Hal Jordan does.
Yeah, I think we've connected with what makes you like Kyle Rayner so much.
Yeah. Did you would you say you learned any, like, life lessons from?
A lot of, I mean, just from the Green Lantern's idea of, you know, willpower and focus and stuff like that. Like, again, I almost wore a Green Lantern ring here just because when I'm, like, really feeling bad and, like, I'm not getting any work done, I'm not going out, I just grab a ring, read some Green Lantern comics, and kind of remind myself to, no matter how bad it gets, just to push through it.
That's awesome.
Ben always dates other superheroes. He's the only superhero in the world that is exclusively, except for one, I think, dated other superheroes.
Well, I think it was.
He did Donna Troy or something, right?
Yeah, he did Wonder Girl, Jade.
Well, don't say did. Damn.
Yeah. He probably did.
Yeah,
he did them.
He done did it.
He did it
good. And but also that idea of just like, oh, cool, like find people who are kind of in your world. And
sometimes I worry about myself because I feel like I'm like. Was his name Brody from Mallrats?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about what you could do with the power ring. Like, how many orgasms could you get with that thing?
Well, I don't even think about that sort of stuff. I don't even think about doing anything really weird. I think I would make a whole city unto myself.
Okay, not boring.
My first thought always is, like, I have this weird fantasy that I'll get abducted by aliens, and then whatever T-shirt I'm wearing, they're like, oh, he's that guy, so I guess we'll just give him those powers. And I was thinking, if I was wearing the Flash T-shirt, I'd be pissed, because I don't get to go into space now. First thing I'd do is Green Lantern, space. And they're
so much space.
They did a thing in the Green Lantern movie that made more sense, but it was like they go through wormholes to travel. Mm-hmm. But originally it's just that he's the fastest flyer. And so the idea that he could fly, like, almost to the speed of light through space. And like you get to see everything and experience everything.
That's pretty cool.
First thing I would do, go have a sandwich on the moon.
Well, see that is the sickest part about the Green Lantern Corps that nobody really talks about. There as a way to illustrate that, there is a passage from Warren Ellis's Ultimate Iron Man versus Ultimate Hulk. And there's this thing about the Hulk in that universe that Mark Millar made up. Basically, what the Hulk was trying to do was get as invulnerable as he could and as smart as he could in one body. But it fucked up and made him as invulnerable and as strong as he could be, but kind of super dumb.
Yeah.
But what he was trying to do was be like, I want to be the guy who's at the edge of space or at the edge of time even, because, you know, you're so invulnerable from all that Hulk shit going around that you can't be defeated. So you're going to be the last thing standing. To be at the edge of space and the edge of time with ultimate comprehension of what's going on would be the highest. You'd be almost godlike. And I think that's what the Green Lantern Corps really could, most of them could be like that. But then they kind of saddle them with all this fucking duty and shit down at the planet. You know, hey, this guy's falling off a scaffold over here. Make some hands.
And Green Lantern's cool and everything on Earth. Like, I don't think he belongs on Earth. Like, my biggest beef with the Green Lantern live action movie that came out was that almost all of it was on Earth. Mm-hmm. And that was a bummer.
Well, that's
because the Oa stuff was so good.
That's what people don't understand about him or Silver Surfer. Silver Surfer, if he's on Earth, it looks so stupid. Like, why is this silver dude on his surfboard? That's dumb. If he's out in space on a weird ship that he happens to be standing on that we don't understand, that's also part of his body, or, you know, all that space, super Kirby stuff makes more sense away from Earth. Yeah. But they think we have to see Earth stuff to relate to these things when all of us are nerds who want to get off of Earth anyway.
Well, just like a great example is like, the live action Green Lantern movie is not really great. I don't think it's as terrible as people say, but it's not great. But the animated one, First Flight, which isn't Kyle Rayner, it's Hal Jordan, but it's a buddy cop movie in space.
Yeah. You know, and like Kilowog, right?
Yeah, well, it's him and Sinestro meeting for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
And training. And you do get, and Michael Madsen plays Kilowog perfectly.
Perfect.
So it's them up, and Victor Garber plays Sinestro. He's big into DC stuff, I'm noticing. He's in like everything they do now. There's like maybe 10 minutes on Earth where you see his origin, and then the rest is in space. And it's like the fact that it's in space doesn't matter. It's the characters. Yeah. Like, I don't love Green Lantern because his powers are really cool. I love it because the first character I met was a really great character, and I got to watch him grow.
Oh, that's cool because it has a character arc.
Well, he starts out as like, okay, I'm an amateur, I don't know what I'm doing, and now he's like leading whole corps. He's brought the Green Lantern Corps back. The number one thing that really, really pissed me off in the history of the Green Lantern writing was the original creator, Ron Mars, came back at a certain point, and this was like a decade after they created the character, and he's grown so much and been through so much. And then as soon as Ron Mars gets him, it's back to, no one likes me because I'm not Hal Jordan. Like,
yeah,
no, you're regressing your character. He's done so much. Like, I stopped reading for a while.
Well, we were going to ask what was the shittiest thing somebody did to him.
I think that.
Can we talk about the chick in the fridge?
I was about to say that, and the fact that there are so many think pieces about the misogyny in comics because of. So, for people who've not read it, Kyle Rayner, when he gets this thing, he has a girlfriend. They just broken up. They get back together. She's being helpful. Government agency.
She helps him train.
Yeah,
right?
she's like, he gets a Green Lantern outfit, and he has no idea who Green Lantern is. He goes, how did you get that guy's outfit? And like tries to teach him what Green Lantern kind of can and can't do. A government.
So she knows a little bit about how
because she's like, she knows about the green guy in Coast City.
Yeah, okay.
This government agency finds out about the ring, sends major force, and Kyle comes home from like a pretty good day, opens the fridge, and she's like folded in half and shoved into it.
Holy.
And it's really fucked up, but people are just citing that as like, this is why comic books are misogynist, and people who read comic books hate women. Because like Alexandra DeWitt, her only purpose was like to be stuffed in a fridge. Like, no, that wasn't her only purpose. And also, her character comes back. There's a whole cool arc where there's a giant villain called Oblivion that takes out the whole Justice League with no effort. And Kyle's like, this is weird. When I was a kid, I wrote a comic book with a guy who looks exactly like this called Oblivion. And then Green Lanterns from other time periods and alternate universes come in, and Alexandra DeWitt comes back as Green Lantern. In her universe, Kyle was the one that was in the fridge.
Oh, wow. That's sick.
And it's really... And eventually, like, I mean, spoilers are allowed on here. Like, spoilers for this arc. It's revealed that Oblivion was created by Kyle's subconscious because he's the only ring. It's the most powerful thing in the universe right now. So he's subconsciously creating this villain that's based on all of his insecurities and fears. And he created Alex, a construct of her. Like, and they're all full color. They all are real, like have their own personalities and histories. Like he can create some really complex stuff, and it's revealed, and so they have to say goodbye. And it's such like I'm getting a little choked up thinking about it. It's such a heartbreaking moment.
Yeah, for me, that's the power of imagination. 'Cause what I always liked about Green Lantern wasn't that he can shoot green shit like aliens from Independence Day. It's that he's got this. If you're creative, it's almost an infinite possibilities of what you could do. That's one of my big complaints about the second and the third Matrix was like, if you have control over the Matrix, why are you fighting dudes?
Yes, that's all I was saying.
Wouldn't
Was
you just wrap them in buildings?
Can you pull some Inception stuff, or like Doctor Strange does all that? Like,
I'd literally pull buildings down and wrap them up and then throw them to the moon.
I think Green Lantern more than any other. I think Kyle Rayner Green Lantern more than any other character leaves really a lot of great room for really deep personal stories set in the backdrop of this universe. Like, one of the greatest issues I think they ever did was Judd Winick was writing it, and he has Kyle's an artist. He has an assistant named Terry. Terry comes out to him, and it's a great issue, and that's all it's about. There's a little bit of fighting, but it doesn't matter. Like, but this is what the story's about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Years go by, or a year, and there's a throwaway issue where they go to Green Lantern's high school reunion, and it's a funny light issue, and it ends with them getting a phone call, and Kyle just starts crying, and it's that his friend Terry was beaten nearly to death by a bunch of guys who hate gay people and gay bashed him, and he goes kind of nuts and he just goes full Batman on these motherfuckers. Like, he breaks someone's wrist to find out who the next guy was, and it was a great story. And it's like, okay, I caught the guys who did this. It's your turn. Please come out of this coma. Please wake up. And that's the whole issue. So even though we have the Wall and the Anti-Monitor and the Guardians, this is the story. It's just a guy trying to get through life, and it's a really brutal, heartbreaking story.
Dealing with he
does eventually wake up, but it has to have a happy ending eventually.
Yeah. But you're dealing with the darkness that people have within them, and how do you react to that and stuff like that. That's cool.
I think this shit, but to answer their question fully, I think the shittiest thing is you develop this amazing character with really touching stories, and then as soon as Hal Jordan shows up, because he was going to be in the new movie, Kyle's just pushed off to the side. When they did the big relaunch a few years ago, the New 52, Green Lantern was the only title that really was not affected by it, and so it made it really confusing, and they just shirked him off to the side.
Yeah.
Well, and that's one thing that I would like to talk about right here. There definitely are pockets in comics where somebody takes over for a character, or some arc happens, and somebody really makes the character exactly how you want them, and then it goes away for fucking ever.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah.
And it never comes back, or it comes back all fucked up like Pet Sematary. Like, somebody tries to bring it back and it's all like, hey, I'm your thing you liked. And it's all fucked up now. It's got 5 eyes. So have they tried to do something like that with Kyle Rayner's?
He's back. They made him the White Lantern, which is like a combination of all the lanterns, so he can use any of their powers. Like, they all have different skills and abilities that they can do. They make him part of the honor guard of the Green Lantern. So I think at this point he's just staying on Oa training people. I think he just lives in space now. He's just I think after everything that happened, his mother was killed eventually. Oh, he does have one of the dopest villain kills of all time. So Major Force, the guy who killed his girlfriend, makes him think that
Major Force, we detailed Major Force's power. So this goes in feats, dear listeners, who are chatting up these stats.
He cannot die. He cannot die.
Major Force?
Yeah, he can literally cut off his head and he'll just go and put it back on. No problem. He's super strong. He's invulnerable. He cannot die. So Kyle thinks that Major Force just killed his mother in the exact same way he killed Alex and puts her in the fridge. And he's just like, what are you going to do? He can't kill me. So Kyle cuts off his head and chucks that fucker into space. So he is stuck for eternity, just spiraling through the darkness, like the rest of us. And I'm like, that is bad ass. Yeah. I've seen a lot of great defeats, but that was probably my favorite because it was so personal and so brutal.
Enjoy space with no body, bro.
Yeah, and his head's frozen and he can't make sounds or breathe. His eyes are just stuck that way, and you just gotta just watch it go off.
Man, he can't die. That was always my classic solution for for Superman beating the Hulk. It's just the Hulk is so great and so powerful, and he's the best and all that. Just put him somewhere. Just put him somewhere where he's just floating around. And one of my friends, dude, sometimes I hate that nerds have so much imagination that it makes us forget anything about science sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you get so smart, you get dumb, or you get so fantasies, you get dumb. I told Jeremy Paul, I love you, Jeremy Paul, I told Jeremy Paul that if Superman threw the Hulk into space, he would just be all fucked up. And he said, well, he would just push off of a planet and jump back to Earth. That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life.
How would that happen?
No. It is the dumbest. It is the dumbest shit in the world. But that would be awesome.
It would be so awesome.
If someone throws Hulk into space, because I think Doomsday did something like that, where they threw him into space and he just hits a satellite and it just bounces right back. And it's like, shit, we just threw him up there.
Yeah. Well, a satellite would be pretty sick, but like, geez Louise. And even that, okay, what? Now I throw you in another direction. If I have super speed and I can lift like 50,000 tons, which is like what Superman's strength is in the comics. Anyway.
Yeah, but in a lot of the, like, I watched Death Battle, Hulk isn't, like, Hulk can get cut by adamantium claws.
Mm-hmm, but he heals up really quick, though.
He heals up really quick.
The new Hulk God is pretty hard to fuck with.
And then obviously, again, like, the more angry you make him, the stronger he gets. Yeah. I think that, like, Kyle Rayner could take on the Hulk. And not, like, physically beat him, but outsmart him, outwin him, think kind of creatively, and, like, okay, I just got to get him to calm down. How do I do that? I think Kyle Rayner, being from Los Angeles, would put him in a bubble and just blow a shitload of weed smoke. I just get him to calm down.
Just the Hulk being like, I just want to watch The Big Lebowski now.
Imagine the Hulk being like, oh, this aggression will not stand, man.
This is my carpet. It's really tied the room together.
In terms of, like, feats that, like, not just what Green Lantern powers, but, like, Kyle personally has done, like, brought back the Green Lantern Corps, created sentient constructs, and then learned how to defeat them single-handedly, and has single-handedly, like, taken on the biggest villains in the DC universe by himself, and he saved cities, civilizations, like,
made whole armadas of spaceships.
Just vanish, and that was, like, just without even getting up from his chair. Like, so he's done that thing. But I think the feat is like, okay, that was cool. He made the ships disappear, but when you have something personal or, like, difficult to do with the lower level, like when he saved that city. Like, showing the effort that took. Like, I think that's a bigger feat. I don't think, like, watching Superman pick up a spaceship is visually kind of cool, but I know it's not hard for him.
Well, I really do like comic books' ability to show you and make you, like, sort of just read. Even though there's pictures, you are still reading the words and the captions have so much interplay with what the characters are feeling, even if the art isn't all that great. Like, I remember so many times people would say stuff about, like, Daredevil, his skin is so sensitive that if he came in this room, due to barometric pressure, he could tell how many people were in this room. If he was deaf, if he was deafened, and he couldn't hear, and he couldn't smell, and he was tied to something to where he couldn't move around or touch with his hands, his skin would still feel, due to the barometric pressure, how many people were in this room. Just imagine how that feels every time he punches somebody then. Yeah. That's got to be awful. He's punching people all the time, and every time it probably hurts like a son of a bitch.
Yeah. And he's a street-level hero where, like, he doesn't have no part of his powers make him stronger, really, or invulnerable in any way. And he gets his ass handed to him a lot.
Yeah, that's
Daredevil is my other absolute favorite character. I just chose Kyle Rayner because he was my first, and also, like, my first intro to both those characters was at the same time. I bought one issue of Green Lantern, which was my first one of that, and then one issue of Daredevil, and it was the issue where they reveal his identity.
Oh, yeah.
So I was, like, hooked. I'm like, what is going on? But yeah, I think everyone's already done Daredevil.
Oh no, we're gonna have a Daredevil issue down. It's like what's funny to me is, like, when we were first conceiving of the show, we used to think we were gonna have, like, a battle royale, like, try to pitch a battle royale between, like, characters that we would pick versus your character. But I'm listening to the shows now, and I think it's all, or, like, remembering the shows, and it's just me talking about Daredevil every now and again and trying to put him over. It's like, hey, Silver Surfer, well, Daredevil did something kind of like that, baby. It's like, I'm pimping Daredevil hard on this podcast.
Yeah, I can, like, I honestly, I think I could probably beat you guys in that in any regard, because I grew up reading Kyle Rayner, so I know him so well, but also I think the reason I feel like I'm not that dissimilar from him. So I think if you guys throw a villain my way, I'm pretty sure I could figure out how to take this through. Right. We already got the Hulk taken care of. Lobo? You know what? I think them should just team up. It should be like 48 hours. I would pay so much money to see like Jason Momoa playing Lobo.
Oh yeah,
Dude,
Which that's such
a big.
I know he's
such a
Aquaman, but
mistake.
that is so
Such a mistake.
perfect.
I
He
think
should have been
that's
Lobo.
fucking great.
Army Hammer would have been a perfect Aquaman, but Jason Momoa definitely had to be Lobo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh man,
I
that'd
would,
be great.
I think that they
They'll
would
never bring
I think
Lobo,
they
but-
would just start drinking together and eventually get along.
They should do a Lobo movie for sure.
They've been trying to do it for a long time,
Have
but
they?
it's hard to make Lobo PG-13.
You got to rated R that guy.
Well, now that Deadpool's out, I'm sure. it'll
Yeah,
happen.
that was going to say they could be their Deadpool.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
DC's sitting on a few characters that could be their Deadpool or could be their this or their that, and I don't know.
Well, because Deadpool was created as a parody of those '90s like kind of characters, and Lobo was also created as a parody. So like he
Right.
wouldn't be looking into the camera or anything like that, but it would show just the bombastic ridiculousness. Like if you got Justin Lin to direct a Lobo movie,
He rides in space on a motorcycle. He's so
On, like, a
badass.
Harley.
He doesn't need air or anything.
Anything.
He's just like,
Yeah.
fuck that shit.
he killed his entire race as a baby.
Yeah.
That's his backstory. Is like I murdered everyone on my planet as a child, and they show a picture of him just sucking on a thumb, and then as it pans out, it's just the hand. There's no one attached to it. There's just dead bodies everywhere. He's just a baby. Yeah, I think for defeating Lobo, like obviously they're both kind of very spacefaring. It's a classic space cop versus space criminal. I think it would just be like a little nice knockdown drag out fight, and eventually they'd just be like, "Do you want to just go get a beer? Like we both like heavy metal and big tits. Let's go do this."
That seems reasonable.
Well, I think you have a better chance of beating Lobo than this guy. I will posit Silver Surfer.
I would be really fast. I think they've done that.
I think they have in one of those amalgam
they did
comics or
do
something.
they did do a Kyle Rayner and Silver Surfer, and they kind of were really friends. I think I'm trying to remember. Silver Surfer's powers are he's tied to the cosmic force, so he can just shoot beams and fly. But what else
Well,
can he do?
he's kind of one of the only super. He's a DC character in the Marvel universe. I mean, he flies at light speed in space. Doesn't need to breathe. Doesn't need to eat. Sustained by super cosmic force. He's gone back in time. I think he's one of a few characters that have done something with Thor's hammer. He's defeated the Hulk handily a couple times.
I think the only way that Kyle could beat him would be there's in the DC universe there's this thing called the Wall, and the Wall is the edge of the universe. Like the edge, like it is literally a giant wall. Superman threw Darkseid into it at one point. You just get trapped there. I think what Kyle would have to do is because all he can really do is fly really fast and shoot laser beams. Kyle could create some sort of construct to sort of box him in and toss him into the wall.
I could see that.
All right.
Yeah. It would be a dick move because Silver Surfer's a nice guy, but
Well, I mean, I really think that they're missing the boat on Silver Surfer not being an actual dude from Earth that is a surfer. I mean, I think they're missing the boat. Like this, them tying it to Norrin Rad and having it be somehow plausible that some dude from space, somewhere in space, there's a planet where
Other people surf.
well, not even that. I think that could be possible.
That's like my big Dragon Ball Z complaint.
Yeah.
One time when they go to Planet Namek and then like Captain, they're like trying to keep the Dragon Balls from the Ginyu Force. So Vegeta like throws them, and then Berter catches the ball, and then Captain Ginyu's like, Berta's a great outfielder. I'm like, really? Baseball's intergalactic? Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, that's
It's a
no way.
shit ass sport.
America's favorite pastime will not be on other
Yeah,
galaxies.
surfing.
Yeah.
Why is the silver a surfer?
we barely watch it. Like,
Well, I mean, and surfing is cool as fuck. Oh, you're talking about baseball, but
Yeah.
but surfing
I'm saying,
is
like,
cool as fuck. But
Yeah.
Surfing is super cool, but I didn't know you surfed on other planets.
yeah.
yeah.
Make
So
boards.
just like I think them taking it away from such like Silver Surfer's kind of like your classic space douche, which is what Ion became, what Kyle Rayner became was your classic space douche.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I went to the edge of time and I'm so enlightened, bro. And they just come back and they just talk this dude speak to you because they know everything because they've experienced everything because they're space dudes.
Yeah.
I think it would be really cool to kind of reverse Kyle Rayner, Silver Surfer, like to do. They bite each other all the time anyway.
Yeah.
Just by the concept of the power cosmic. When Norrin Rad finally gets to go to some dumb planet and be with his chick and have fun. And the power leaves him, and it goes to some just, hey, bro, you do with that roach?
Yeah, I would like that. I would also just love the conversation of just like Kyle going, "Yeah, I had all the power in the universe, didn't really like it."
Exactly.
I didn't. The big complaint was like he can't sleep. I'm like, I can't sleep, and I have no power. Like, deal with it.
What would you like to see Kyle Rayner do? Like if you could make up your own Kyle Rayner story.
Yeah, I'm interested in this.
Rayner.
And we're putting you on the spot, so we can.
Okay, if I could come up with my own Kyle Rayner story, so just like in the comics, not like I'd like to see him in a live action movie or
whatever you want.
I think if they're
however best you can see it.
Fuck me. I would have to say like a Kyle Rayner story I would really love to see is actually. Oh my god! Because I keep thinking about putting Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart. Because I know that the CW keeps hinting at Hal Jordan, but I would much rather see Kyle Rayner show up in the Arrowverse.
Kyle Rayner is so much better for the CW.
Fit so well, like
he's emo. Yeah. He's got a girlfriend.
Yeah, like I could
stuff.
see him working so perfectly as a CW character as a Green Lantern. Like I know people want Hal Jordan as the fan favorite, but since the shows and the movies are totally separate, you can still do a Hal Jordan movie or a Jon Stewart movie. But I would love to see a CW Green Lantern show that does take place a good chunk on Earth for the first season, and then we get out into space because they've shown that they can do some amazing stuff with such. Look at Legends of Tomorrow, like they can do some amazing stuff. I would love to see a continuing TV series, kind of exploring what it's like to have billions of years of history and power thrust upon you, and you did not ask for it. And you're not necessarily like upset about it. You just really don't know what to do.
And it's the ultimate opportunity to have some kid from now do the whole like, I don't want your life. You know, that whole thing. Yeah. It's perfect.
Just yelling at a blue midget. You get me drunk enough, I'll do that. That's be fine.
I'll paint someone blue. I don't know.
Yeah, I would love to see that kind of show. Just learning sort of how to handle all that stuff and just have it be like a normal. Because like they were going to do that Jack Black movie.
Mm-hmm. Where it was a comedy version of
on
Green
paper
Lantern.
It sounds kind of ridiculous, but when you think about like, well, what would happen if you gave just a normal like stonery dude from LA like this power? And also the kind of fact that it's like I didn't earn this because of my bravery. It literally was just you'll do.
Yeah.
And like just I think there's a lot of room for heart and comedy and that. And I think that's something that the DC movies, with the exception of Wonder Woman, is very much lacking. So I'd love to see a Kyle Rayner Green Lantern series that takes place in Los Angeles and eventually will move out into space and actually get to watch that character grow. That's cool. And not grow like Barry Allen has grown where he just gets more dour.
Yeah, well, he gets more dour and he gets more responsibility set upon him, but that's kind of the trajectory of all DC heroes. Batman in Kingdom Come ends up lording over a city of automatons that are flying around. Superman is away from everything,
in a fake
plowing
zoo.
In a fake zoo, plowing a fake field inside the Fortress of Solitude. So, but yeah, you've made a very, very, very good case for Kyle Rayner being the nerd goat. I mean, he's super powerful. He's experienced a lot. He's been everywhere. He now trains other super powerful people.
And those changes stick. It's not like with Batman where it's been 70 years of the same goddamn story over and over again. Like, I didn't read Batman until they got rid of him and put Dick Grayson in the suit. Because I was like, that's an interesting story now. So, yeah, like, you actually get to watch a character grow and change with this immense power and use it as any one of us probably would. Like, responsibly, careful, and cautious about what you're doing and how you handle this power. But also, if you need to throw out the big guns, you throw them out big.
Cool.
Well, do you have anything you'd like to plug besides your Weredick?
Got any shows coming up?
No, I don't have any shows coming up. I'm trying to get on the road. Let's see. No, I don't think I have anything to go on right now.
Okay.
Well, we'll put your information up next.
Yeah, you can follow me.
So
you can follow me on Instagram at @therealJustinWilliams. I don't really use Twitter that much, so just stick to the Instagram.
Okay. And what kind of stuff do you Instagram?
It's stuff that I cook. My cat. Horrible texts that I've sent to my girlfriend. Just give you an example. Some of my dirty talk to her was, "I am the captain now." I said that in bed. Yeah.
And you still have a girlfriend. It's amazing.
She lives with me. It's like, you're stuck here. You can sign a lease. So Instagram is just like a lot of that, and also just like, screen caps of like fun, cool stuff I see online. But cool. Yeah, it's a mixture of stuff. It's a lot like my comedy. It's all over the board. Sometimes it'll be really thoughtful. Sometimes it's just a picture of dog poop.
Seems reasonable.
All right. Well, you've made a very compelling case for Kyle Rayner being a nerd goat. I put the effect on there.
Plugs.
Oh, yeah. Ed Greer Destroys on all social media. And check out my Instagram. It's popping. I draw pictures of stuff. I'm doing a series of superhero comic strips where it's like they all look stupid. So, like, my first one was called Nightfall, and Batman was falling because his glider cape stopped working.
Yeah, I would love to see that.
So, what about you, Ron?
Joe, let's hear 28th. If this is out before that, probably won't be. June 28th. I have a show July 1st.
Get in the time machine and go watch this show.
I need you to use Green Lantern's ring. Go back in time and watch me be funny. But I'm going to be at Anime Expo, and then I'm also going to be in Comedy Palace in San Diego for all of Comic-Con. So if you're out in Comic-Con at night, you can come watch me do 3 different shows. One with the Mean Boys.
Yes.
Which will be
you're on
fun.
that show too?
Yeah. And then...
Yeah, if anyone listening, oh my God, listen to Mean Boys. It's probably my favorite podcast right now.
It's pretty messed up. Yeah. It's pretty awesome. I'm also going to do Mean Boys at some point. So, and then... on the the 21st and 22nd, I have lots of shows, and you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, blah blah blah, as Dorky Swallow or Ron Swallow. Look that up, and that's fine.
Well, that was a classic Nerd Goat episode. If you had a good time, please rate, review, subscribe, push the like button, do all the stuffs that you do to support the things you like. Thanks. We'll see you next time.